Hey, wine mermaids. This is the Peace, Love, and Wine podcast, bringing you happy hour conversations with awesome women on self-care, sisterhood, and creative living to reduce stress and maximize joy. Life is short, so grab a glass and get ready to sip, sparkle, and make a splash. Make sure to visit peaceloveandwine.com and enter your email to receive VIP deals and get your free self-care download. Now, here's your wine sister hostess with the mostest, Tiffany Humfeld.
Hello, gorgeous. This episode is part 2 of my conversation with the lovely Emeraude La Starr. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back to the previous episode and enjoy the show.
When we all kind of rounded up before we went on stage, like the most important part is just have fun with it. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, and I haven't shared this with anybody in our class yet that performed, but I, being back in the community today, and I had a couple of people approach me that came to the show on Friday, mm-hmm. and the feedback was, your group did so great. Everybody looked like they were enjoying themselves. Everyone made eye contact and was interactive in their own way. Everyone was smiling. And so there was some awesome feedback that got thrown at me today. And I was just like, oh. So it's really cool to hear that. And it's huge. You've been to burlesque shows before. Mm-hmm. So when you're an audience member and you see somebody up there that's just like rocking it and living their best life, you feel that too. You're like, right. Yes!
It's one of the best parts.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. So, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, I did. But then, so this is where my sort of back and forth, the sort of conflict and brain mush is happening is, I had a great time. And then, all this, I'm 5 feet tall and all the soloists are taller than that. Cause that's, most people are, most adults are taller than 5 feet. Everybody, like all of you ladies who did your solos, were like total hard bodies and like right up in our face, which was awesome, but also made me like, it was, the comparison thing.
Yeah.
So, cause I do not have that shape or that look, and I'm working to change things, but also part of my goal in doing this now was that to accept myself where I am, regardless of where I want to end up. And because all we know is that we have today. Right.
That's right.
And I was tired of hating myself and hating the way I looked and all that too. So it's really interesting because I'm being mindful and I'm catching myself like kind of doing the comparison and, my breasts look very different than a lot of people's. And that's always been really hard for me too. So I'm finding myself having to like really nurture myself and counteract maybe the mean thoughts that I might have.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like the journey, even from the first night, is still continuing,
Totally. And it will. And it's something that might take months, if not years,
mm-hmm.
to process it all.
Right.
And for you to, you'll have moments where you're like, I'm okay. This is fine. This is where I'm at. I'm beautiful. And then you're going to have those moments where you're like, this doesn't feel good. I don't feel good. My ass is too big today. I can't fit into my costume. And that's all real. And there's nothing wrong with it. Mm-hmm. But just resetting and recalculating like perspective and reality. And the reality is that you woke up today, you stood up. That's a good start.
Yep.
Right? Yep. We only get one of these bodies. Yep. So, and it's a new opportunity to make choices. And choices like what am I going to have for breakfast? Am I going to go get fast food, or am I going to treat myself to a home cooked meal that, feels healthy and makes me feel like I'm eating clean? Mm-hmm. Am I going to make the choice to look at myself in the mirror and pick apart all my so-called flaws? Or am I going to look in the mirror and realize that there's someone with big, beautiful eyes staring back at me, and that person deserves love? So every day is a new opportunity.
Right.
It really is. And yesterday doesn't matter, and tomorrow doesn't matter, because right now is the only thing that's important and right in front of us. So I totally get it, and your feelings are super valid. And so many people go through this, and it hits me every now and then too.
Right.
I'll fluctuate 5-8 pounds every year, and my boobs will fill out my bra for part of the year, and then other times I'm like, do I gotta go down a cup size? And when I go down a cup size, my breasts are they grew so fast in puberty, and they had stretch marks, and then I was really full, I was 40 pounds heavier for a point in my life, and then I lost some weight. And now they're just kind of very pendulous. They have a little mind of their own, the girls. So that personally, that's a tender spot for me. And so when I put my pasties on, I'm like, okay, girls, you got this. You just do the best you can, and, go wherever you're going to go, and it's going to be fine. I gotta pep talk myself. So, I think as long as you can check yourself, sounds like what you're kind of doing and working through, and just remember, this is where you're at right now, and it's beautiful. It really is. And I don't know, did you feel much of this when you were performing on Friday? I don't know if you had any real one-on-one time with any of the audience members, or met anybody new, or got any feedback from them, but everybody out in the audience, they're all different shapes and sizes as well. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you thought about it, or maybe even had a conversation with anybody, but that by you being up there, and you're 5 feet tall and super voluptuous, and you're a ginger, and I love it. And your physical characteristics, that someone in the audience might have, the same breasts, or the same body shape, or the same coloring, or whatever, that you might be inspiring them to accept themselves for who they are. You might be touching on. Did you feel any of that?
That is definitely one of the reasons why I can get out there and do it, because I could be helping somebody else, right? Whether or not I'm recognizing that at the time. But I think I was a little too anxious on Friday to tune in that much. So I was trying to, have fun and remember the steps and make sure I was smiling. And then there was the big reveal where I wasn't please don't pop a pasty, not the first time.
You did it.
Yeah, I know. So that was such a relief. Yeah, I think I definitely chose in the moment where we took our bras off and pasties were out in full view to really have fun with that moment, and, give it to the VIP tables. And then I walked by my friend as we were exiting, and I gave her a little extra shimmy, and that was really fun.
Good. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you did it. I'm glad, one, that you fulfilled your goal of performing before the end of the year. And I'm so honored and super grateful that that you chose to take my class, and you're teaching me something too, and that I got to provide an an outlet for you and a stage for you to be able to meet your goal. And that is like one of the most rewarding things for me. So thank you for that.
Well, it was hard, but you're welcome.
It was hard. You're so funny. Yeah, get a little emotional again. More wine.
Yeah, I'm just so excited for the adventure to continue.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to get my first solo completed, which I kind of have it all mapped out, and I've got my costume and everything. So just, putting all the steps together and really fine tuning it is kind of what I'm working on now. So I can't wait to send you hopefully a video and have you critique that.
I would love to see it. And yeah, I would be so happy to review it and offer you feedback if you want it. And also, we never really got into a ton of like costuming tips or tricks with this class, but if you have questions about rhinestoning or pasties or anything like that, definitely like don't hesitate to call me.
Okay.
I'd love to help you out with anything that you might need. And I know we're like counties away from each other, but I'm here if you need anything. So I'm super excited for you. I can't wait to see what you come up with. And I know that there's a bit of like a comedic, like part of your character, right?
Right. Yeah, that's really a big part of it. And so I'm trying to figure out kind of why that is. And then I realized when I was kind of deciding right before I just signed up for your class to do this and make a real go at it, that I was like asking myself, okay, what do I need to do right now? What do I need to focus on? Like, whether that's in business and the creative side of things, that will allow me to be like the most me right now. And the answer that came was like burlesque and like bring your weirdest, silliest self, because that's all you're ever going to really be anyway, and share that. Right. And so, and then I realized that in preschool, when they went around saying what you want to be when you grow up and asking those questions, I said I wanted to be a clown.
Oh.
And so I've determined that burlesque, there's an opportunity to basically be a boob clown.
Yeah.
That is for me right now.
I love that.
So I look forward to, and it's one of the things that I'm really drawn to at a burlesque performance. So I know there's, different styles of things, but that humor is something that just fills me with joy, and I love watching it. And I just want to be a part of that and bring that to other people.
Yes, totally. I love that. And I'm so excited for you, and that feels right for your character, and maybe it's that part of you. Tally Ho, you saw her perform on Friday, right? She does she inspires me because she's definitely got that comedic persona, and she just does it so well. And she's just a funny gal anyway. She's like kind of sarcastic comedy, but there's Daphne in the background. But that's something that I don't feel like I have, like in IRL and real life. She's walking around trying to get comfortable. And in real life, like I'm kind of silly and funny and nutty, and as I am who I am. But on stage, that's a different thing. Like, I don't think I'm that funny on stage. And so I am always drawn to performers that do have that real, like, sense of humor and, like, that comedic timing and just the imagination and the silliness and, like, that just pull it off. I love it. I love it. It's so entertaining for me. So I cannot wait to see what you come up with. Like, no pressure to be anything, but just be you. Just be you and be funny and silly and have a good time with it. And that, so I'm super excited for you. I can't wait. I want to see Tipsy Merlot.
Yay, I can't wait either. Okay.
I know.
You had mentioned you have some really good tips and tricks. And so I know one of them when we're talking burlesque, we have to talk glitter because that's just like requirement. So you shared a tip with my friend and I after the show because she complimented your sparkliness.
Oh, yeah.
You share that publicly for us here?
Oh, yes. So the skin sparkliness, is that what it was? Okay, cool. So pre-show, I make sure that I take that I shower and that I exfoliate really well. I don't normally do that when I shower. Like, seriously, some days with my life, the way things go, like, I'm like, bird bath. Okay, I'm good. And I wake up with my hair like this.
Your hair is so cute.
So, like, super, super simple life, right? Like, unless I get really stinky out in the vineyard or something, then I'll shower up. But show day, I like to take my time and treat myself. And so I exfoliate and I moisturize. But before the show, I don't moisturize my breasts, right, around like the nipple area, because the oils from lotions and creams and balms and that kind of a thing will keep your pasties from sticking. Right. So you will have like a pasty popping scenario. So I don't do that, but everywhere else I do. But I really, really love, and I'm a big fan of Lush. They make this lotion bar that's got a little bit of like mineral sparkle in it, and the lotion bar is called Shimmy Shimmy, and I think they have 2 different colors, but it's the like ivory colored lotion bar, and 1 it smells really good, and 2 it's got that just a super natural like shimmer to it. So that is a big tip and trick. It's like it's a lotion bar, so like we'll get rid of any dry spots on your skin, but at the same time, it deposits a little bit of like mineral sparkle. So yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. And you know what? So where I live, it gets really warm in the summertime, and that lotion bar was one that I probably should have tossed like 2 months ago when it had melted in my car. So when I pulled it out that night, they melt kind of easily, so you got to keep them in a cool spot. But when I had pulled it out that night, like the lotion had separated itself from the little sparkles. Mm-hmm. So when I started putting it on, I was like, oh my God, I am like, this is like too much. So I was rubbing it in, but then also the lotion, the oils in the lotion, I think it started to go a little bit of rancid.
Oh no.
It did not smell like it normally does. So if I stunk a little bit, that might have been why. But if you go into Lush and you check out those Shimmy Shimmy bars, like it smells really soft and kind of powdery, and the sparkle is not overpowering. So
yeah. Yeah. How about a couple more tips for effective burlesquing?
So often I get asked about the shoes that I wear. So I have a size 5.5 wide foot. Yeah, that is my true shoe size, and it's really difficult to find stylish shoes that are 5.5 wide. You can find a lot of orthopedic shoes in that size, but not so much the fun heels and things that are a little bit more trendy and fashionable. So I oftentimes will buy a size, like a half size up. So like I'll buy a size 6 shoe. So like I get so many comments and compliments on the little black heels that I wear with the ribbon around them.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute. They're like ballerina slipper heels.
I love them too. Yeah. That's kind of what it reminds me of. So they are basic, simple black pumps. I like more of like a faux suede look, so it's not like shiny or patent. It's just kind of like really subtle. Mm-hmm. And then I will take craft ribbon, fabric ribbon, not the kind with the wire in them, but like a satin ribbon or grosgrain, and usually always matching the color of my shoes. So sometimes it's like if it was a black shoe, a black satin or a black grosgrain or even a black sheer ribbon, and I cut it to a length, and I use pasty tape on the underside of my shoe, on the underside of my heel, and I stick the ribbon to that, and then I wrap it up and cross it around my ankle and tie it off to the side. So a lot of people will think that the ribbon is part of the shoe, but it's not actually. I just add it to it, and what it really does is functional. It keeps the shoe on my foot because I've bought a half size larger to accommodate my wide foot, and it helps keep it on there. So that's another little tip or trick, and it's really fun to play around with different colors and styles of shoes and things like that. But it can transform the look of a shoe, on a dime store budget. So it's kind of cool.
It is super cool. Yeah, I specifically pointed them out to my husband and was like, look at her shoes. They're so cute.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if I have any other tips or tricks.
Can I ask you a behind the scenes costume question then?
Yes.
So in your Harley act, your solo, you have this undershirt that you tear open. And my husband and I both thought, wow, that's an investment in every act.
How to do it?
Yeah, like,
yes.
And then I'm like, what did she buy? And she's so small. Does she use like little boy baby shirts?
I know, that's what it looks like. Huh? Totally does. Okay, so my go-to comfort outfit day to day is a pair of jeans, like comfy jeans, worn in, and a white men's tank top, like the wife beater. Mm-hmm. That is my go-to like comfort outfit. And so
I'm wearing a black one right now.
Oh yes. So I'm really not into fast fashion. Totally more of a thrift shop gal, or people gifting me things. Like this sweater was gifted on my birthday. For environmental reasons, I really don't want to support fast fashion, but I make an exception to the Hanes white undershirt, like the tank tops. Mm-hmm. I don't know, they're like A-tanks or something like that, but you can get a pack of like 7 of them for $15 or something, which is like $2 a shirt. And because it's my go-to shirt, I'm like, well, okay. So I will usually buy mine a year, and I wear them. And so some of my shirts, like I'll wear them a lot, and right where they hit my jeans on my on like the button part of my jeans, sometimes they get little holes in them. And so if it doesn't have stains anywhere else, because I do all kinds of dirty stuff around the vineyard, if it's like somewhat still a clean white shirt, but it has like the little hole down by the button, I'll look at it and I'll go, oh, this is the one I'm going to use for my Harley act. And so I cut it off so that it hits like kind of where my rib cage is. Mm-hmm. And then I put a little snip in the top where the band is around the top of the tank top. So it's easier to start ripping.
Right.
But it's like really minor, but then you go just like that. So it's like a $2 investment on a shirt that I've probably worn 20 times for that particular act. And there's no sense in rhinestoning it because, I mean, it's a biker babe act, right? So it's just, I'm going to put my leathers on and put my white tank top on, slap some pasties. And usually I carry my green helmet. I have like a glitter green helmet. And I totally forgot it that night because I was trying to remember all the other things. But it's okay. It was fine. I remembered my gloves and my pasties and my bottoms, and that was the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you auction the shirt off, or is there?
I probably could. You know what's so funny? When I think I stayed at the venue until Cheers of Ramona. I think I stayed in there until like midnight because I wanted to make sure the band was paid out and that things got cleaned up. And as was walking out the door, Michael was helping me with my bags. He pulls out of his pocket my white tank top, and he held it up to his nose. He's like, "I'm keeping this." Like, you do that, babe. It's so funny. We probably could auction them off at some point. I don't know if I've hit any kind of level of who's Emeraude La Starr.
Well, or, at least let people know after the show, whoever was lucky enough to catch it, they now have a brand new dust cloth, right?
I like that. They make excellent dust cloth.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
Let me see if I have anything else specific that I wanted to address.
Okay.
I guess, two things I wanted to talk about, and you let me know, are we good on time for you?
Yeah, we're fine. We're
okay.
fine.
All right. One was, why did you start producing? That's question number one. And then the second one, I wanted to talk more about the tiny house because I'm kind of obsessed with them myself. So I wanted to hear about your process for that.
Oh, totally. So I had a commercial real estate career for like 13 years. So I'm like on the upper level asset management side of that industry and managing people in multi-million-dollar buildings and facilities management, construction management, all this. So like when I first started in burlesque, I was like, all I have to do is get up there and learn and act and perform it. And okay, like fun, creative outlet. But there's a leader side of me and a mentor side of me and team player. And so we had the Vaudeville Vixen dance troupe. And I think just because of maybe partially my age, but kind of what I did as a profession and, having some money to contribute and play around with a little bit. Like I was always kind of right there wanting to help and wanting to learn more and do more and take on more responsibility and everything. And I think Valentina realized that kind of right off the bat when our dance troupe, the Vaudeville Vixens, started. So she was inspired by a burlesque show that she saw when she was in New Orleans, and they do a burlesque brunch show there. And she had gone to the New Orleans Burlesque Festival one year and came back, and she had seen the burlesque brunch, and she was like, I want to do something like that here. We don't have anything like that in San Diego, and I think it would be amazing, and so I want to figure out how to do it. And Valentina, when she says she's going to do something, she does it. I love her for that. So she found this venue, the Lafayette Hotel, and at the time, the management and the staff there and everything were like super awesome and wanting to support and do this. She's like, this is going to be a production. We're going to get at least 100 people in this ballroom, every other month on a Sunday. We're going to have a live band. Like she was gung-ho making it happen. And shortly after she started the Burlesque French show, she asked me if I wanted to come in as like a full-time co-producer on the show. And she would kind of show me what she does, how she does it, and kind of let me take the reins. And she was also simultaneously building her entertainment company, Twisted Orbit, with her husband, Bags. So this would allow her to focus a little bit more on Twisted Orbit and just take that extra layer of producing a show off of her so that she could focus and make money here and start the business and then still keep this other production going. So a couple months into it, she passed it off to me for me to produce it full time. And I am so grateful for that experience. I think naturally being more of a leader and team player kind of personality, a a lot of it was just very common sense, but there are some things that that I hadn't thought of that she shared with me, and so I'm super grateful to her for that. And really, Valentina is the reason why I got into producing shows, because I'm not sure. I think maybe eventually it would have been something that was a very natural transition from performer to producer, like be the show I want to be. That's what Lola Van Ella says. Be the show you want to be. So I think it would have come, but it came a lot quicker than I anticipated, with Valentina kind of saying, hey, do you want to do this with me? And then, hey, you want to take this over? So I'm super grateful for that opportunity, and I definitely have her to thank for it. Some of the things, you know, she learned over time. Like, she'd been producing shows for many, many years, and she had to learn a lot of stuff the hard way and figure things out on her own. Whereas certain aspects of producing to me was like, this is how you manage an office, or this is how you manage your schedule. And you start at, show day, and you back into it. Like, you have to back through the timeline. I need this and this performer details and information and costuming by this date. And then you got to back into it. And like, so you figure out your timeline and time frame and everything. That was kind of common sense to me, but, networking with other performers, especially variety of acts, hooping and more circus type acts and fire performances, and, flow arts and pole performers, all the different things, acro yoga. I mean, they're all forms of art, and like, she always kind of had a knack for finding a great flow of performers and kind of how to put them together. And so I've met so many different performers, all different art forms through her, and realizing that variety is super important. Like, she figured that out right off the bat. She started with belly dance, and she moved into hooping, and then circus and burlesque and all of that. So she's been really great. And I think that one of the biggest things, this is a challenge for me in real life and also like in burlesque producing, is you got to give yourself enough time, because you want to do a show, and you want to you've got an idea, like you have this big picture how you see it in the end. You really have to give yourself time. There was, for the 2 years that I co-produced and produced Burlesque French San Diego, there was not one day that I wasn't doing something for the next show.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was definitely a full-time job, and that was, a bi-monthly show. So 6 shows a year. But you're constantly emailing with performers. And if you have 8 performers plus a band, and everybody's got, questions, you're like, okay, I need to figure out, I need to be more clear in my email. I need to give as much information as possible, and that will maybe help eliminate some of the emails. So there's things that you learn. You just have to give yourself enough time. You have to be patient with people. You have to communicate. You have to over communicate. And so that was probably one of my biggest takeaways, and figuring things out on my own is like my level of communication. And not everybody comprehends. Right. So giving a little bit of grace for that too. And realizing like, I don't know everything. I'm kind of figuring it out and going. Another thing that is super important and is acknowledging your mentors and your troupe members and your friends that have shown you the ropes and have guided you along the way and have helped you out. There were a couple of times where, I might not have given someone enough credit. I might not have given Valentina enough credit or the kind of credit that she wanted. Mm-hmm. And it caused a little bit of friction. And it was not intentional. It's just kind of like, not like, I tell you all the time, I love you. Are you not listening to me? But that wasn't, it's like you have to make sure that you understand if you're producing a show with somebody or you have somebody that you're working with closely or even like your troupe or whatever, like, relationship you have in the community, like make sure you know how they need to be acknowledged. It's typically not the same way you would want to be acknowledged. Like we all have different love languages.
That's what I was going to say.
Love languages, right? So, my love language, how I show my love is quality time and acts of service. And somebody else's might be words of affirmation and gifts. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of speak the same language. So I think that's like one of the biggest things that I've learned, and especially in producing and that I worked so closely like with somebody like Valentina for so many years is that just making sure that they feel like they're acknowledged in it because she gave me a wonderful gift in the show, the Burlesque French San Diego. Sometimes it felt like, oh my God, why did I say yes? but really, ultimately, it was a wonderful gift and opportunity because I then was able to give performers opportunities, and that just feels so good. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just being really gracious of anybody that shares information with you. If somebody doesn't want you to share information, don't share information, but just be really respectful of other people in the community, and their time and their gift of knowledge that they share with you too is another big takeaway. Mm-hmm. Sorry, that was a little bit long-winded.
Those are all really good things to keep in mind that are maybe sort of back of mind because they're not 100% of what you need for the show to happen, right?
Right.
But it's the really important people relationship part of it, right?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And even in real estate, you figure that out too. You go to these networking events and you're meeting all these people and you might remember half of their names, and you're happy when everybody's wearing a name tag, but they're wonderful opportunities to be really present in the moment and to really have a quality conversation, like with anytime you're networking or you're out talking to another burlesque performer or something, but have a quality conversation with them. Remember, ask them, you ask really good questions. Just ask specific questions and remember what they say and, make a little note. So I've had to make notes when I am at festivals. I'll meet performers and they're so wonderful and I love just talking to them for that 5 minutes. And then I have to make a little note in my phone. I got to look up this person later on Instagram because I want to be following them. I like them. I liked the connection. Or try and remember something special about them or what you appreciated and then send them a little note. Hey, I really loved this act that you did and I want to know more about it. So that's the relationship part is quite important. We might you might be in a group or you might even just be a solo performer, but again, supporting other performers and building that relationship with them is really important. Yeah.
And just sort of a money question on that with the troupe and production. Can you talk a little bit about what Vaudeville Vixens, what that structure was like? As I have mentioned, I know a troupe in Long Beach that has been together for quite a long time, but nobody gets paid, and that makes me a little sad. They all do it just as a hobby, which is cool, but they're doing it at a really professional level. So I'm just curious what your opinion and also what your experience has been with that.
there is a time and a place to donate your art. There are fundraisers and benefits, and if it's a cause that you believe in and they're asking you for a donated performance and you're into it, then yes, do it, no charge. But I am a firm believer that art has value. And I believe very strongly in paying all of the performers in my shows. Speaking about the Vaudeville Vixens, we've gone to festivals, and festivals don't pay, not unless you're a headliner. So we've all put time and money, hundreds, thousands of dollars into traveling to New Orleans and New York and Vancouver, British Columbia, and Denver and Austin. We've all put money and invested our time and energy into going to these festivals and not getting paid. We're doing it because we love it. We're doing it because we have art to share. But when it comes to shows locally, the Vaudeville Vixens have gotten paid for, I want to say, almost every single gig. Mm-hmm. And it could be anywhere from, for a group performance, $25 per person to $100 per person. Mm-hmm. It just depends on what the gig is. Valentina's been really awesome about, her and her husband have this entertainment company now. And, they do a lot of corporate events. And these companies will pay good money for ambient entertainment and, amazing circus acts and things like that. So she's kind of has that structure and that mindset when it comes to booking the burlesque troupe. So she's very good at looking out. She has been very good at looking out for us in the past and making sure that she negotiates fair pay for everybody. I can't really speak for everybody in the San Diego burlesque community, but I feel that keep getting that window that's popping up on my screen. I think that like base pay for one act, I've heard starts at like $50 and goes up from there. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to hire somebody like Valentina, it's going to be more than $50 for an act. She's been at this game for a really long time. She's a wonderful performer, very seasoned and very professional. So I'm a firm believer in paying for art. Like, that should be how it is. It makes me sad too to hear that there are performers up in Long Beach that are doing this just because they love it and it's a hobby for them, that they're not getting paid. But if they're okay with not getting paid, then that's all right. But at the same time, it makes me sad because what does that say about the rest of the industry? I question it because of the value aspect of it. And right. I come from asset management, so I'm like, everything has value. And how are you going to place that, and how are you going to determine it? And I think in an industry as a whole, that all performers should be paid something, whether it's maybe just splitting tips or, something is really important. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
just to play the devil's advocate on that, when their troupe members audition and whatnot and sign up for it, they all know what they're getting into. I see some of them have been there 10, 11 years and they're not making money, and but somebody is making money off of them, right? The venue or whatnot is making money. And so that's where I feel a little challenged with that concept.
Absolutely. So it's one thing to, from a producer standpoint, it's one thing to sell just barely enough tickets to be able to break even, to be able to pay your performers and, the venue and cover costs of marketing, flyers, wristbands, security staff. If you're breaking even, it happens a lot. I have gone backwards on some shows where I have come out of my own pocket to pay performers. And I don't mind doing that because I would rather pay them than not pay them. Mm-hmm. And I always tell my performers, this is your base pay. Like some of these shows at the smaller venues, like Cheers, like this is what I'm committing to paying you. And then we'll split tips on top of that. But most of the time on larger scale productions or kind of one-off shows where it's like a big thing, there's absolutely profits from that. So at the end of the day, if you're able to break even and pay all your performers and then pay yourself, that's a win. That's a win. That percentage that you're paying yourself or whoever's organizing it, and I can't say if that's over the top or if, what the actual expenses were. I don't know. Right. I know from most of the shows that I've done in San Diego and that, I've helped Valentina with, that when we do make a little bit of profit, it feels good. And then you start looking at it like, how much time every week, month that I put into emailing and this and that? And then you give yourself a wage, right? What if I'm $15 an hour or, $20 an hour or whatever, depending on what the tasks were. Like if you back into it, are you really making $20 an hour, $15 an hour, even $10 an hour for all the time you're putting into it? Right. Maybe not. So, I hope that and if a performer is going at it for 10 years and they're not getting paid, and they're okay with that, then that's fine. Like, I'm not going to say that's right or wrong, but I do believe that that there is a value on art, whether it's burlesque or music or a painting or, a piece of furniture that's handcrafted or an old classic car or a custom surfboard or whatever. That's all art. There's all design that goes into that. There's time, effort, energy, and there should be a value to it. So I think it's very important for performers to determine what their value is and stick to it. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, tiny house. Talk about that.
Tiny house! Okay, so I grew up in the suburbs of San Diego, and I lived downtown San Diego for a while, and I loved it, but it was kind of chaotic, and you're working a job to pay the mortgage or pay the rent, and then you got to pay for a car, and you got all these things. You end up kind of working to afford this certain lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And after I got divorced, I kind of did this. I had a bit of a shakabuku moment, like a swift spiritual kick to the head. So this moment where I'm like, why am I doing all of this? And you think about it and you're like, well, I have this job because now I have this, I had this credit card. I had to pay off my Nordy's credit card. I got this, I do miss my car. I had an Audi A5, but it was like a $600 a month car payment. And like, why am I'm getting paid really good money, but for what? What do I have other than a 401k and an IRA and a savings account? What do I have to show for it at the end of the day? And when I die, I'm not going to take my Audi with me, and I'm not going to take my wardrobe, and somebody's going to have to deal with all that stuff. And just kind of was like, this just doesn't really make sense to me anymore. And is it sustainable? I'm kind of a environmentalist, and I think about sustainability a lot. And when I started thinking about the sustainability of my lifestyle, it just wasn't working for me. And so I got divorced and moved back in with my parents so I could kind of get myself figured out financially and straightened out, and decide what I wanted to do next. And I just kept coming back to like simple, and I love living in the country. I love being able to see all the stars at night. Ramona's really not that far from San Diego. It's like a 30-minute drive to like Poway or Rancho Bernardo. It's not that far away.
It feels really far. It doesn't feel like California to me.
I know, right? Especially when you come up like the windy road 78 that you've done more than a couple times. It's still San Diego County, but it's the more rural side. And land, there's actual land.
Right.
Purchase. There, the cost of housing is a lot less. Really, there's no real employment opopportunities. Ramona is a bedroom community, which means a lot of people that live in Ramona commute. So they go down the hill, is what we call it, because it's up as far as elevation goes. So my parents moved to Ramona in 1999, and I came up and lived with them for a little while I was going to college, and then I went back down to San Diego and did my whole life. And my dad passed away in 2015, and that was the same year that I left, retired from commercial real estate and left the industry. And so there were a lot of things going on for me, physically, emotionally, mentally that year. And I just kept thinking about, some of the things that my dad said, like he always wanted land around him. He grew up in Maine, so he always had space. And when we lived in the suburbs together, he was like, I can't get my wheelbarrow through the fence, like through the gate in the fence. Like I keep hitting my knuckles. He always liked space and valued open. And I think I think that's probably part of the reason why I value it as well. Like not hearing your neighbors peeing next door that is a good quality of life. If you don't have to hear that, that's the way to go. So having a little bit more space is good. But I moved back up to Ramona to help my mom out and to also find myself again and what things I valued the most. Space, freedom, being debt-free is freedom. Simplicity. Life is so crazy. Like, did I need all these things? Do I need 23 pairs of shoes? No. How many have I worn in the last 6 months? Not 23. Right. So you start just thinking about all these things and stuff. And when I moved into my mom's house, I was paying for a storage unit. Mm-hmm. I was paying like $120 a month for a storage unit to store stuff that I hadn't thought about in years. And I knew that I wanted to live on a piece of land. And I always, in the back of my mind, was like fascinated by shipping container homes and Cobb style homes and all these cute little tiny fairy-like places. And so I had already done a lot of research on it. And I ended up deciding that probably the best thing for me was going to be to find a place to put a tiny home on. And I was into like the tiny home thing before it like became a thing. It was like 15 years ago. I was talking to my husband about it. I'm like, what if we just have a tiny little house and we make it out of bales of straw? And he's like, are you crazy? Like, it's a thing. So I was always really into it. And now it's become a thing. It's become this whole movement. And I'm so excited by it because I think it's paving the way for simplicity. And it's going to give many people an opportunity to have a place that they can call their own. Mm-hmm. It doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, that you don't have to pay, thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in property taxes on. It's an opportunity for people to discover more communal living. And most important, I think it's a great way to reconnect with the earth, because the earth's resources are really limited. Really, they are. I mean, we think we have infinite gas and we think we have infinite, water, but we don't. Like, there's going to be some point in time that we don't have these things. And so just kind of having greater appreciation for the earth and what it offers. And so for me, I decided that the best way to go about dipping my toe into the tiny home way of living was to find an old travel trailer. That way I could have something on wheels that I can relocate and I can travel across the country, maybe like, showgirl road trip or something like that down the line. And something that I can make my own and not spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on, something that I can build out and remodel to be a little bit more eco-friendly. And so I bought, 2.5 years ago, I bought a 1976 Fleetwood Prowler travel trailer. And I thought, okay, well, definitely needs paint because I can't live with this paint color. Piece of cake, I can do paint. The flooring, can't, gonna need new flooring. And, this over time, I can rebuild some cabinets and that kind of a thing. So, like, day two, I started, like, demoing out part of the existing built-in that was there. And, like, I sunk my my claw part of the hammer into a piece of the wood, and it was, like, spongy. I'm like, oh, crap. So I started going a little bit deeper, and it was totally dry rot and like gross. And then there was termite damage, and I found all these things like this travel trailer I purchased for like $2,000. I thought, I'll put $2,000 into it. Probably, I calculate things and I can do it all myself. It didn't have any funky smells. Everything appeared and seemed to be working well when I talked to the owners. I don't think the owners knew what was inside the walls. Right. So they didn't know. But once I got into it, I was like, I can't stop. I can't live knowing that this is happening inside the walls. And so I told my brother and my uncle were helping me demo. I was like, it's all going. It's all got to go. We're taking it all apart. And they're like, have you lost your mind? I'm like, yeah, probably. It's taken me 2.5 years to get to the point where everything is like structurally sound now. There's no rotten wood. I redid all the electrical, new floors, new everything, new exterior paneling. I've probably put $7,000 into it at least. So far, this is probably pushing $10,000 as far as like the purchase of the trailer and the renovation, but it's mine. Mm-hmm. And I don't have I don't have a mortgage and like this debt over me.
Right.
It's amazing. I'm living so minimally and simply that I have like my burdens feel like they're less.
That's nice.
Money is one thing that can tie you to you. If you owe money to a credit card company or a bank or whatever, to me, it's not freedom. Mm-hmm. There's still something that you're committed to. You're committed to giving somebody money every month. Like a bookie. Like, oh, I got to get this taken care of. So for me to be debt-free is awesome. I miss my Audi sometimes, but like I have a great old SUV that I don't have a car payment on. It's awesome. I have gotten rid of my storage unit completely. Like I don't pay $120 for that anymore. I manage a vineyard property and I'm fortunate enough to stay on that property and oversee the vineyard and the orchard and the operations and everything. And that's kind of in exchange for rent.
Nice.
So it's work involved and there's a commitment, but it's not excessive. In my head, it's not excessive. It's all very doable and it's sustainable. I put in a composting toilet.
Cool.
So I have that.
I've researched them.
Yes. Yeah. I have the Nature's Head composting toilet. I totally want to do a video about it. Kind of like a funny video about it. I think it'd be great. But a lot of people don't understand how they work. So I want to, inform people of that. And I love it. It's great. And I reinforced the roof of the travel trailer to accommodate for solar panels at some point in time. I'll put those on there. Then I can be completely off the grid.
Oh, neat.
So
you don't have any water then? So there's no shower or anything like that in there?
I'm actually still plumbing and finishing the shower.
Okay.
Which is where my bird bath comment came in earlier. I wash my dishes on my front porch. So it does have a shower. It has a full bathroom. So there's a shower, like tub.
Combo.
Yeah. And so there's that. And then I decided I'm not going to have a bathroom sink because 3.5 feet away is the kitchen sink.
Right.
So it's just shower and there'll be like a cute little vanity and then the little composting toilet. And then so I'll have there's a water holding tank. I think it's 72 gallons, and that sits in the back of the rig underneath my bed. So that's a holding tank that you can fill. You can either leave it pressurized, or run it off of a pump. Mm-hmm. And then that will go over the holding tank feeds to like the kitchen sink, and then the hot water heater, which is propane powered. So I do have propane, and there's like a 2-burner cooktop. I'm still working on getting my kitchen finished, and I'm very, very much looking forward to that because it's a challenge not having my cabinets done. And, I have like a piece of plywood that's my kitchen counter right now. So it feels very, it's nowhere near right now exactly like in reality what it is than what it is in my head,
right.
Which is like boho, glam, showgirl, little tiny home. But it's getting there, and it's one of these things that takes time, and I want to do it right. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing it all pretty much myself. Mm-hmm. I had people help me with like big stuff that I couldn't do on my own. I had family help me. I had friends help me with electrical. I was like a whole different language. But I love it so much. And again, it just comes back to being like, what do you really need in life? Mm-hmm. What can you live without? If you had to up and go tomorrow, what could you bring with you? So
I noticed, so we got to drive past your tiny house when we were staying there. I noticed you did have a container behind the house. Is that where you store your costumes?
Oh, so that's the sea train, like a shipping container, like sea train storage. I do have some things stored in there. My costumes are not, though, because that sea train occasionally will get little like there's like little pinhole leaks that are in the steel of it, and I don't trust anything of major value to be in there. It's plus it's dusty and dirty out there on the vineyard property, and so anything that I have stored in there is mostly like tools and things that are super sealed, packed in boxes, like some of my decor that I haven't put out yet. Mm-hmm. Is what's in there. My costumes, such a great question. It's like 85% of my wardrobe is my costume. Eva Mae Garnett and I talked about this like a couple of years ago when I started building out. She's like, where are you going to put all your costumes? I'm like, well, my wardrobe now that I don't have like a professional, real estate job anymore, like my wardrobe's kind of like jeans and t-shirts and like some really cute dresses, like boho typey dresses, and yoga pants and my white tank tops and costumes. And that's it. It's super simple. So my I built out the bed that's in the back, and I put hydraulic struts on it. So it's like like a storage type bed, but it's the platform that the mattress sits on is on hydraulic struts. So I just pull it up and it's like, and then I have all of the storage underneath. And so what I do is my costumes, like pretty much all of my corsets are together in one of those they're like vacuum sealed bags, like storage bags that you take the air out of. Like, all my corsets are in one of those. And then I have like big, like fluffy type costume. Like we have a can skirt, and I have like my big green robe with black feather trim on it. All those, like when you take the air out of those and those vacuum storage bags, it's like down to nothing. So I've got like a whole 2 compartments underneath my bed that are filled with vacuum sealed costumes, like all stacked up.
So every time you want to like sort through them, you have to like unvacuum them and revacuum them and all that. I do. But, and you know, I was going through them last week when I was getting ready for the show that we had on Friday. I was like, am I ever going to use this again? I don't know. So I have like a questionable, do I want to donate these or gift them to somebody pile still. Like I'm constantly getting rid of stuff still. And I feel like I don't really have much more to give away or get rid of. But like when you don't think about something for a couple of months, or, you know, it's like in storage or kind of like out of sight, out of mind, and it might not really have value to you anymore. And maybe it could be valuable to somebody else. So yeah, it's a constant process. It's like downsizing and yeah. I'm in 650 square feet, which is probably like 6 times the size of yours. I don't know. I'm in 150 square feet. And so it's a constant battle and struggle. So that's what I'm learning too. And what you just said of maybe somebody else could get some value out of it. That's really how I'm trying to see it too, because then it makes it easier to let go of.
Yeah.
Always get a one if you really happen to find that one thing that you got rid of that you wish you hadn't, right? Like, but more often than not, you're not going to care that you got rid of it. It will be a relief. And so let somebody else, instead of it weighing you down, let somebody else find joy in it, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I think we may have more than one episode out of this. So
I know.
Let's, final parting words for women who are thinking about getting into burlesque, or just women in general who, I don't know, need some encouragement.
So for those that are interested in burlesque, I would say use the interwebs, go to a library, research it, really take time to understand how it started and where it came from and why and what it has evolved into today. That's fascinating, and that's history. And then understand that you are stepping into a community that is full of all different types of personalities and body styles and attitudes, and but most importantly, a community that's going to be supportive. And it's a beautiful one. And then just try and take classes from different instructors too. Everyone has a different method of teaching and style and philosophy, and they all are very valuable. And there's not just, as far as classes go, like one size doesn't fit all. One instructor you might totally appreciate and get along with and like have a connection with, and then another you're like, oh my gosh, no, this isn't right. So try a couple different classes on for size, and just do it. Just jump in. And yes, it might be a little bit scary at first, and you might be a little bit out of your comfort zone, but I think after you've tried it, you will find that you will find some benefit and some value in what you've learned, whether you continue on with it or you don't. And then for women, and I'll men everybody in between, like really just beings in general. I've probably already said it, but when you can love yourself fully and deeply, you can love other people, and you open up a space in your heart to be loved back. And so I think ultimately, like, kindness and grace and compassion for yourself and for others, it will do wonders for not only yourself and your bubble and your world, or in your own world, but like on a bigger scale. It leaks out into your family, and it leaks out into your community, and it leaks out into your region and your country and, your continent and the world eventually. So I think the more kind and compassionate and loving we can be with ourselves, and showing others that we can be that way with ourselves, means we're deserving of it as well. And we really ultimately are all deserving of it. So, yeah, that's it.
So what I'm hearing is love and burlesque can save the world.
Love and burlesque, and maybe wine too. But for sure. It was funny. Somebody was saying today, like, to be humble too. And I feel like the opposite of humble is egocentric. Right? But ego ultimately comes down to power. Maybe power and greed and ego, they all kind of go together. So if we can just kind of let go of it being all about us for a little while, and being more about a community or family or a friendship circle for a little while, I think it's super healing, and it's a great reminder that, like, this world doesn't revolve around me. It's like really all of us together, and we really all are in it together. And so to be humble and kind.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share. I really appreciate it, and I have a lot of love for you.
I miss you. I cannot wait to connect with you some more, and to see some video. If you want to send me video, that would be awesome. And then I think we should definitely have a weekend where we go wine tasting.
Yes. Actually, we can consider a research, and we can go to all the different places that might want to have shows.
Yes.
It can be a whole thing.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, Tiffany, Tipsy Merlot, I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing on your podcast that you've got going on. You've been doing this for a while now, but I dig your energy, and I love where you're coming from and where you're heading. And I want you to know that I fully support you and all your endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for being part of the journey.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, mermaid, and any mermen and pirates who might be lurking around. Thank you so much for listening. If you've been enjoying the show, I'd love to invite you to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/peace, love, and wine. There you can find ways to support the show through our virtual tip jar / micro sponsorship and membership in the official Peace, Love, and Wine Club. You'll find different tiers with different benefits, such as getting your name in the show notes, getting a handwritten letter from yours truly, and getting a shout out on the podcast itself. Additionally, we are adding some fun tiers with my new burlesque behind the scenes adventures, where you'll get access to photos, blog posts, and videos that will not be shown to the general public. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, if you've ever had a laugh or gained some wisdom or insight from the show, I'd appreciate if you could take the time to check us out over at Patreon and see if that's something that you might be open to participating in. As we get more founding patron members, we will add more fun things too, possibly things like virtual happy hours where we meet virtually and enjoy a drink and conversation together. So I'm curious to hear what you'd like to see. You can always email me, info@peaceloveandwine.com. And again, check it out in the show notes, patreon.com/peaceloveandwine.